My grandfather was a businessman who did business in south of France. One day, going out from the post office, he was arrested. He was taken to Paris, from Paris to Dachau, from Dachau to Auschwitz, and he died in Auschwitz. The only reason he was arrested was because he was a Jew. You see, hating the Jewish people is hating the plan of God. God has elected a nation. He took the people of Israel out of Egypt, made them into a nation for a purpose, that he will use them to be a light for the world. Through them, he'll bring the plan of salvation. And there's no doubt that the devil wants to stop that plan. And to you, our brothers and sisters who loves and support Israel, I just want to say, Toda Rabba. Thank you, and keep praying for the peace of Jerusalem. Shalom. With us today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Natan Sharansky, who spent 9 years in the Soviet Union jail, 9 years in the Israeli government as a Knesset member and a minister, and 9 years as the head of the Jewish agency in Israel. Shalom, Mr. Natan Sharansky. Great honor having you with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
You have a real story. Can you tell us some stories of your station in your life?
Well, my first station is the life of a loyal Soviet citizen. It was a life without freedom and life without identity, because I knew that I'm Jew only because it is written in the ID of your parents, the word Jew. We are deprived of anything Jewish, whether it is holidays, whether it is language, whether it is faith. The only Jewish thing is anti-Semitism. A lot of anti-Semitism in the street. Second part of my life, when Israel entered our life in 1967, and that's when I started reading really in the underground.
What age was it?
It's 1967, I'm 19 years old, and I started reading about, in fact, about myself, about history.
So you had a search of identity.
Yeah, that's when I started looking for this, I realized that your history will be not the history of Bolshevik communist revolution with all these awful things which happened. Your history is 3,000 years old. It starts from the leaving of Exodus from Egypt. And it can continue until this day. And that's what gave me strength to fight for my rights, for rights of other Jews, and then for freedom. That's how I became spokesman of Jewish movement and human rights movement in the Soviet Union, making sure that the free world knows about what's happening with the Jews. In the end, KGB arrested me, but I'm accused in high treason, in being American spy. What means that they explained me immediately, you will be sentenced to death.
Wow.
The Soviet Union fell after they opened the gates, because Soviet Union could not exist without Iron Curtain. So I was the first political prisoner whom Gorbachev released in 1986.
So you mentioned about anti-Semitism in the former Soviet Union. What do you think about anti-Semitism today?
That the hatred towards Israel takes very often the form of the same hatred towards Jews. But when it turns to demonization of Israel, or clear double standard, that's exactly what anti-Semites were doing for thousands of years, demonizing Jews, applying different laws to Jews. That is anti-Semitism today, and we have a lot of anti-Semitism today.
I can tell you, Mr. Sharansky, that our station, TBN, is not only standing against anti-Semitism, is fighting against anti-Semitism. Our viewers are probably the best friends Israel have around the world.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I appreciate very much the solidarity of Christians with our struggle was very important when I was in Soviet prison, but it's also very important today when we are really struggling for the right of Israel to be a legitimate state among the nations.
Amen.
Yeah.
The return of the Jewish people, it's God's plan. Great honor having you with us, Mr. Natan Sharansky. Really a great honor. Was very interesting. And to you, our friends, once again, stay with us for another insight, Israel and the Middle East. Thank you for joining us as we provide a spiritual insight of what God is doing in Israel and in the Middle East. If you want to learn more about what God is doing in Israel, make sure to visit us on our webpage and follow us on social media. Shalom, and God bless you from Jerusalem.